This is the book of Daniel, the 5th chapter, and the 27th verse. And it reads, Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai. Call Halimla Alahayana wa Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Barakhakwadash. Give a double honors unto the head apostles of Great Millstone, who do rule well and teach well with sound doctrine. Shalom. And to the elders and the elder bishops of Great Millstone as well. Shalom. Shalom. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings unto the hopeful elect, and a hearty shalom to the sincere brethren doing the work in truth and sincerity, spread across the four winds of the earth, giving diligence to make their calling and election sure. Shalom. Shalom. So this lesson was inspired by listening to a couple different live streams earlier, reading the book of Daniel, the 5th chapter, which allowed me to gather a few different precepts that goes into this topic. Lord's will, this lesson reaches the ears of the hopeful elect, and Lord's will, you find this lesson edifying. So we'll start out in the book of Daniel, the 5th chapter. We'll read this one more time, and we'll go into this precept a little later on in the lesson as well. This is Daniel, the 5th chapter, and the 27th verse, and it reads, Thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. And Esau Edom, he's being found insufficient to rule, and it's the counsel of the Lord, the prophets of Yahweh Bashim Yashai, who are exposing this devil for who he is. It's the Spirit of the Lord that's doing it, man. And if you go into this word wanting, which we'll go into a little later in the Hebrew and actually in the Strongs, it's chasar, which is, to be lacking, insufficient, deficient, so on and so forth. But we'll start out with the book of Daniel, the 5th chapter, at the beginning. So this is Daniel 5:1, and it reads, Belshazzar, the king, who is the son of Nebuchadnezzar, made a great feast, Slakia, to 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, whilst he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein. Then they brought the golden vessels which were taken out of the temple of the house of Yahweh Bashim Yashai, which was at Jerusalem, Solomon's temple. And the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone. Idolatry, giving praises unto, their gods, which you have the modern day Babylonians doing as well. Jesus Christos, Catholicism, Virgin Mary, Islam, which is a child of the Roman Catholic Church, Baphomet, self-worship, so on and so forth. This is Daniel 5:5, and it reads, In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. And there was a message for the king. Now, if you skip down, after this, Daniel was called to interpret the message. Let's go to Daniel, the 5th chapter, a little later on in this account, down to the 22nd verse. Let's start with 20. And it reads, But when his heart was lifted up, talking about his father Nebuchadnezzar, and his father was abased, through his pride, he was abased down to a beast, to show the power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. The same way that Pharaoh was abased and eventually destroyed along with his army, And it was after the plague of the lice that, the Magites and sorcerers of Pharaoh knew that it was the hand or the finger of the Lord. It says that in Exodus, the 8th chapter, and the 19th verse. We'll just get that real quick, since I'm bringing it up. Exodus 8 and 19. This is Exodus 8. We'll get 18 as well. Let's just pull up the account. Yep. This is Exodus 8 and 17. And they did so. For Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man and in beast, and all the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. So there were lice upon man and upon beasts. Then the magician said unto Pharaoh, this is the finger of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. This is the finger of the Most High. We can't do that, And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hardened not unto them, as the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai had said. And Nebuchadnezzar was puffed up with pride as well, And just like Pharaoh was abased, Nebuchadnezzar was abased. And the modern day Babylonians and Egyptians, aka Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, are going to be abased the same way. They're being weighed in the balances through the word, through the report. And who was summoned to give Belshazzar, the interpretation? Daniel, a prophet. And those great men are back. The prophets are back to give the modern day Babylonians the report. Many tekel upharsin. Let's go into Daniel, the 5th chapter, and pick up where we left off. This is Daniel 5 and 20. But when his heart was lifted up, just as ancient Pharaoh's heart was lifted up. This is talking about Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar's father. But when his heart was lifted up and his mind hardened in pride, he was disposed, Salakia, I'm going to calm down. He was disposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. And he was driven from the sons of men, the heathen nations, and his heart was made like the beasts. What else happened? And his dwelling was the wild asses, and they fed him with grass like oxen. So he, was the king. And the next minute he was bugged out, living like a beast, acting like a beast, eating like a beast. And that's going to be the fate of Esau, Edom. And he was driven out from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beasts, and his dwelling was like the wild asses. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till he knew that the Most High ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointed it over it whomsoever he will. Let's get Daniel 4 and 17 real quick. Daniel 4 and 17. I don't want this to be long-winded, but it may. Lord's will, you still find the lesson edifying if it is long-winded. This is Daniel 4 and 17. And it reads, this matter is by the decree of the watchers and by the demand of the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. The basis of men. Now, if you go into the prophecy of the statue, as far as rulers, kingdoms, and so on and so forth, Esau, Edom's rulership is at the base, at the knees on down, the legs, better yet, the Greeks, the Romans, and then the modern day Greco-Roman Empire. Greco-Rome 2.0. Now, let's go back into Daniel, the 5th chapter, and the 22nd verse. And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, hast not numbered in thine heart, in your mind, though thou knowest all this. But thou hast lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before thee. And thou, and thy lords, and thy wives, and thy concubines have drinking wine in them, which the modern day Babylonians are doing, man. They're passing around their wine as far as their philosophy throughout the whole earth, getting the whole earth drunken off of it. I'm going to start again from the top. Daniel 5:23. But thou hast lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, and they have brought forth the vessels of his house before thee, the gold and the silver, which modern day gold and silver, would be the southern and the northern kingdom, that they brought into their houses, in the form of ruling over us for a short set period amount of time, man. Daniel 5:23 again from the top. But thou hast lifted up thyself against Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Lord of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before thee, and thou and thy lords and thy wives and thy concubines have drunken them, and thou hast praised the gods of silver and of gold, and thou hast praised the gods of silver and gold, and of brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know, and the God in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways hast thou not glorified. This is Daniel 5:24. Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written, many tekel a person. And also, the commandments were written by the hand of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, the finger of the Most High, This was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written, and this is the writing that was written, many tekel a person. This is the interpretation of the thing, many. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai had numbered thy kingdom and finished it. And that's the report. That's the report that the prophets are letting you know. Step by step, play by play, prophecy by prophecy. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and found wanting. Paris, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, it's like it had numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Daniel 5:26. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Daniel 5:28. Thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. And that same night, if you go down to Daniel 5:30, Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, was slain, and Darius the Median took over the kingdom. Now, if you go into Daniel 5:27, which we'll get, Daniel 5:27, and it reads, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Now, if you go into this word wanting, it's like chasar, and it means deficient, wanting, lacking, wanting, deficient. If you go into deficient, it means lacking, defective, not having enough of a specified quality or ingredient. Lacking salt, lacking, knowledge, and most of all, lacking the spirit, to rule in righteousness, because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai has created all things, even the wicked for the day of evil. Let's get that. Proverbs 16:4. And it reads, the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai hath made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. And that's their purpose, is to rule in wickedness. Now, if you go into the root word that it goes into, chasar, chasara, and it goes into to lack, by implication to fail. And that's exactly what they're going to do. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai disappoints the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise, which is their NWO or their OWO, one world order. Want, lessen. Abated, bereaved, decrease, decrease. Cause to fail. Make lower. To abase, basically, Just like ancient Pharaoh was abased, Nebuchadnezzar was abased, and eventually Belshazzar was abased to the point where he was no more. That same night, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai took him out. Want, lack, fail, decrease, abated, make lower. To lack, be without, decrease, be lacking, have a need, be lacking, to diminish, decrease, to cause to be lacking. And that's exactly what is going to happen to Esau, Edom's kingdom. Now let's go into 2nd Ezra, the 4th chapter. Yep. Then I answered and said, how and when shall these things come to pass? Wherefore are our years few and evil? So this is Ezra inquiring, asking the archangel Uriel for, understanding. This is 2nd Ezra 4:34. And he answered me, saying, do not thou hasten above the most highest, for thy haste is in vain to be above him, for thou hast much exceeded. Did not the souls also of the righteous also question of these things in their chambers, saying, how long shall I hope on this fashion? When cometh the fruit of the floor of our reward? The prophets are constantly asking this, the apostles, would thou at this time restore the kingdom into Israel? Peter, we've forsaken all. What's going to be our reward? Roughly paraphrasing Matthew the 19th chapter. Ezra inquired a few times, what shall be the parting asunder of thy times? 2nd Ezra the 6th chapter in the beginning, and also at the end of 2nd Ezra the 6th chapter. When are these? When shall? I'll just get the second one. I don't want to butcher it. 2nd Ezra 6:57, and it reads, "Oh now, Slakia, and now, Slakia, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us and to devour us. But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? Why are we in rulership? How long shall this endure? How long shall this endure? And that's what the apostles were inquiring. Will you now at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? Now let's go into the book of 2nd Ezra, the 4th chapter again, and it reads: Did not the souls also of the righteous ask question of these things in their chambers, saying, How long shall I hope on this fashion? when cometh the fruit of the floor of our reward. Second Ezra 4 and 36. It's like it. Second Ezra 4 and 36. And it reads, and unto these things Uriel the archangel gave them answer and said, even when the number of seeds is filled in you, for he had weighed the world in the balance. By measure hath he measured the times, and by number hath he numbered the times. And he doth not move nor stir them until the set measure be fulfilled. Now let's go into 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. And let's get 6 through 8. Yep. 2nd Ezra 15 and 6. For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. You know, the time of the Gentiles, the time of Gentile heathen rulership, just about up. You know, we can see by what's happening, you know, on a worldwide scale. Prophetically, the scriptures say, measure thou the time diligently. We'll get that at the end of the lesson, you know, and it goes over the spiritual list of things to look out for. Matthew the 24th chapter, Luke the 21st chapter, you know, the gathering, you know, Ezekiel 37, you know, and other things. Earthquakes in diverse places, you know, famines, pestilences, wars and rumors of war. You know, Esau, Edom looking to try to crown his enterprise. You know, Revelation the 13th chapter, you know, 16 through 18. Those are the things we're supposed to look out for, you know, and watch, warn, and wait. Like the elder Tazawan put for his lesson title a few days ago. Beautiful lesson, by the way. Watch, warn, and wait, you know. This is 2nd Ezra 15 and 6. For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. 2nd Ezra 15 and 7. Therefore saith the Lord Adonai Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things which they wickedly exercise themselves. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. You know, that's what the prophets are doing. Back to 2nd Ezra 4 and 35. Did not the souls also of the righteous ask question of these things in their chambers, saying, how long shall I hope on this fashion? When cometh the fruit of the floor of our reward? And unto these things Uriel the archangel, Uriel the archangel gave them answer and said, even when the number of seeds is filled in you, for he hath weighed the world in the balance. By measure hath he measured the times, and by number hath he numbered the times, and he doth not move nor stir them until their set measure, he doth not move nor stir them until the said measure be fulfilled. This is Leviticus 19 and 35. And it reads, ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment, in meteyard, in weight, or in measure. And this is in the law. This is the point right here. Just balances, just weights, a just ephah, which is a measurement for, a dry measurement. A ephah, an ancient Hebrew dry measurement, a weight equivalent to a bushel, a dry measurement. And a just 10, which is a, measure of, I think, 5.5 liters, a wet measurement, a liquid measurement. a Hebrew unit of liquid capacity equal to approximately 5.5 quarts. 5.5 quarts. I meant to say liters, but I may have said meters. Salakia. Tripping. Leviticus 19:36. Just balances, just weights, a just ephah and a just hin. A just ephah, a just dry measurement, a just liquid measurement, perfect balance, liquid and dry measurements, night and day, hot and cold, righteousness and unrighteousness. It's all in the Heavenly Father's hands, The weights of the bag are his. Leviticus 19:36. Just balances, just weights, a just ephah and a just hin shall ye have. I am Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, your power, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. This is in the law, which Esau, Edom, doesn't give just balances, Everything is unjust with this guy, man. Therefore shall ye observe all my statutes and all my judgments and do them. I am Yahweh Bashim Yahshai. Now let's go to Proverbs 11:1. A false balance is abomination to Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, but a just weight is his delight. And that goes back to the law. We just read that in Leviticus 19:36. Just balances, just weights, a just ephah, a dry measurement, a just hin, a liquid measurement, shall ye have. I am the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, your power, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe all my statutes and all my judgments and do them. I am Yahweh Bashim Yahshai. Proverbs 11:1. A false balance is abomination to Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, and abomination is something that is worthy of you put to death for, man. A false balance is abomination to Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, but a just weight is his delight. Now let's go into Proverbs, the 16th chapter. But let's get the second verse, the 10th, 11th, and 12th verses. And it reads, all the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshai weigheth the spirits. And you have certain spirits who are created for the sake of the purpose of doing unrighteousness. Esau, Edom, the heathen nations, 2/3 of the house of Israel. And then you have certain spirits on the earth created to walk in, the way, to pursue after righteousness, which the hope of the elect are doing, Proverbs 16:2. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshai weigheth the spirits. This is Proverbs 16:10, and it reads, a divine sentence is the lips of the king. His mouth transgresseth not in judgment. The Lord will not do iniquity. Proverbs 16:11. A just weight and balance are the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshai's. All the weights of the bag are his work. Going into Proverbs 16:4, which we just brought out a little earlier. Let's get it again. Proverbs 16:4. Slack, come on. Proverbs 16:4. Yep. The Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshai made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. Let's get Sirach 33:16. And it reads, Slack here. Yep. Let's get Sirach 33:14. Good is said against evil, and life against death. So is the godly against the sinner, and the sinner against the godly. I'm gonna read it again. Got a little excited. Sirach 33:14. Good is said against evil, and life against death. So is the godly against the sinner, and the sinner against the godly. This is the point right here. So look upon all the works of the Most High, and there are two and two, one against another. Perfect balance. Just weights. Proverbs 16:4 again. the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua had made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. And that's the balance that Esau Edom, has on the scale, is the weight and the measurement of wickedness, which is tipping the scale right now, to the point where it's going to have to be taken out of the equation pretty soon, because their set measures fulfilled. Proverbs 16:11, and it reads, a just weight and balance are the Lord's, all the weights of the bag are his work. The good, the evil, righteousness, unrighteousness, the house of David, the house of Saul, the house of Amalek, Edom. Proverbs 16:12, it is an abomination to kings to commit wickedness, for the throne is established by righteousness. And that's the report that the prophets are telling you, Let's get Sirach 10:8. And it reads, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. And that's the report, the good news. Let's get the fourth verse. Let's get 1-4. And it reads, a wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. But you can see this, government that, runs the world, as far as, Babylon the Great, that influences the whole world off the wine. His philosophies, his way of life, his religion, the false prophet, his military industrial complex, his money system, all of it's ran in wickedness, man. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all that dwell therein. A unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. And this man's, the harbinger of death. This man is so diabolical, he sprays barium aluminum into the skies, and he has to breathe that shit himself. He puts, GMOs in the food. He's looking to put the sauce, the sacrificial hot sauce on the crops, and his own people are gonna eat that shit, man. But this nigga don't care. That's how diabolical this man is, man. Looking to open up portals in the universe, trying to destroy the sun and the moon, trying to measure the earth as far as grains of sand to try to get his birthright back, man. That's how desperate this nigga is, man. Sirach 10:4. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. Yahweh Shai, the house of David, and the innumerable multitude, the tabernacles of Israel, man. Zion. Let's go to Revelation 11:1. And it reads, and there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, rise and measure the temple of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, and the altar, and them that worship therein. Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is searching Jerusalem thoroughly, with candles, man, with the lamps, and it's all through this word, through sound doctrine. You're starting to see who has the truth and who doesn't have the truth, man. Who's warning you, of the times to come, whose report is matching up to what the prophets of old were saying, They weren't giving you a message of you're going to have peace. They were giving you a message of, a sword is on the horizon, Let's get a precept that backs it up. Let's go for the classic. Jeremiah 28:8. And it reads, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. That's the legacy of the prophets, you know. Every tongue that rises up against you in judgment, as far as the prophets, you know, the prophets are going to condemn, man. Let's get that. Isaiah 54:17. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment, thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And we know our righteousness is as filthy rags, but the little righteousness that we do have is of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, you know. Now let's go to Revelation 11:2. Let's get 11:1 again. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, rise and measure the temple of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Rise and measure. It's like I'm going to start again from the top. I'm going to stop getting excited if I can. Revelation 11:1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, rise and measure the temple of the Most High, and the altar, and them that worship therein. Revelation 11:2. But the court which is without the temple leave out. Those who are outside the temple, you know. If you're outside the temple, that means you're abominable, you know, not worthy, set for destruction or slavery. And measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. Let's go to Zechariah 2:1. I lifted up my eyes again and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. What does it say in Revelation 11:1? It says, and there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, rise and measure the temple of the Most High, and the altar, and them that worship therein. You know, and the angels are holding back the four winds of destruction until all the elect are sealed. You know, and that point, you know, is almost on the horizon, man, you know, because we see a lot of things happening as far as, you know, the destroying winds, you know, as far as, you know, the plagues, you know, they're starting to get more and more turned up. Ever since they turned this CERN thing on, man, it's been popping. You know, they've been literally day by day, there have been things just happening, man. Literally, the day after CERN, the Georgia Guidestones happened, man. You know, and then all those people at Parliament, they just retired. You know, they resigned. You know, things are popping, man. You know, Canada, you know, the banks, the ATMs, the debit card machines, you can't get no cash. You know, prophecy is popping like popcorn. It's getting more and more turned up. You know, Zechariah 2:1. I lift up my eyes again and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then said I, whither goest thou? And he said unto me, to measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth thereof, and what is the length thereof. You know, which is said in Revelation 11:1, just in different wordage. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, which is what you know, Aaron and Moses had, you know, when they were out there, you know, plaguing, you know, Pharaoh. They would hit their staff or their rod in the water, and it would turn into blood. You know, so on and so forth. Revelation 11:1. And Moses and Aaron, were prophets, man. And once again, the prophets are back to give modern day Pharaoh the play-by-play, until the return of Yahweh Bashim Yahshai. Revelation 11:1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of the Most High, and the altar and them that worship therein. Zechariah 2:1. I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then said I, Whither goest thou? And he said unto me, To measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth thereof, and what is the length thereof. And behold, the angel that walked with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him. And said unto him, Run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls, for the multitude of men and cattle therein. And that's what the prophets do. They run as soon as they, get the understanding out to the highways and byways and give you the play-by-play. Zechariah 2:4. And said unto him, Run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls, for the multitude of men and cattle therein. It's the point right here. For I, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, will be unto her a wall of fire round about, and will be the glory in the midst of her. The word of Yahweh Bashim Yahshai is like unto fire, but also Babylon the Great. There's going to be a wall of fire around Babylon the Great for all those that don't hear and hearken unto the report. Those who, are outside the temple. Revelation 11:2. But the court which was without the temple, leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months. Let's go to 2 Ezra 9:1, and it reads, He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently. That word measure keeps on popping up in this lesson, and the way you measure the time diligently is you watch, you warn, and you wait. You watch for what's going on in the news, geopolitical news. You match it up with the scriptures and line it up with prophecy. That's measuring the time diligently, 2 Ezra 9:1. He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, wars, rumors of war, earthquakes in diverse places, famine, pestilence, the gathering, Ezekiel 37, this man trying to crown his enterprise, the word being spread across the horns of the earth through the unicorn, people teaching in other languages all across the world, all signs that we're in the end, and all those things happening at once. 2 Ezra 9:2. Then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Upwards of the people, them looking to lock down cities. 2 Ezra 9:3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. And also, the gathering, man, the book of Zechariah 2:1. I'm going to read it again. And Zechariah is Zechariah in Hebrew, which means remembered of Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, remembered of the Most High. I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then said I, Whither goest thou? And he said to me, To measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth thereof and what is the length thereof. And Jerusalem's being gathered through the word, which is another sign of the end times. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached unto all nations, for a witness, because all the nations are gonna hear of the Hebrew Israelites. They're gonna walk by a camp. They're going to hear a few precepts coming out. They may hop on the comment board or watch a lesson, not knowing what's going on, or may just hear Hebrew Israelite in the news, when they start the massive persecution, but they're going to hear about the Hebrew Israelites in some way, form, or fashion. 2nd Ezra 9:3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of these things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Through who? Through the prophets who been here since the world began. Let's get that. Luke 1:70. Luke, Slakia 1. Slakia. Let's get right to the point. Luke 1. Let's get 68 through 70. Blessed be the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahshai, power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, the gathering, through the word, and had raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. And that horn of salvation is Yahweh Shai, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began. 2nd Ezra 9:5 and 4 again. Even the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and Slakia. Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning, by the mouth of the holy prophets, which have been here since the world began. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. The end is come, and end is coming. Watch it for thee. The end of Esau, Edom's rulership. For Esau is the end of the world, this age, this eon, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth forever. It says the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom, and possess it forever. And that kingdom is not going to be left to other people as far as to rule. Daniel 2:44, just roughly paraphrasing Daniel 7:18, and Daniel 2:44. For like as all in the world, as all that is made in the world hath the beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. 2nd Ezra 9:6. Even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. You had the skies turn green out there in South Dakota, man. You have another blood moon set to hit. Where I think it's gonna be blue. I think I was reading something about that in Indiana, somewhere around the in that area, Indiana, so on and so forth. You have rivers turning to blood. Rivers drying up, water drying up. The chariots popping up, Esau, Edom being hurt, taking down pages left and right, striking pages. As well as all the other things that are in the ingredients of end time prophecy set to happen, before the return of our Lord Yahweh Shai, happening all at once, and this is a beautiful time that we're in. Let's get this last precept and close on out. Lord's will you were edified. Slakia if it was a little all over, Slakia if it was a little all over the place, but Lord's will you still were edified. This is 2nd Ezra 9:6. Even so the times of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. And we're in the end times right now. So Lord's will you were edified. And in closing, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and infinite glory unto the Heavenly Father Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachak Wadash, giving double honors unto the head apostles of Great Millstone, who do rule well and teach well with sound doctrine, Shalom, unto the elders and the elder bishops of Great Millstone as well. Peace, love, citations, and blessings unto the hope for the elect, and hearty Shalom to the sincere brethren doing the work in truth and sincerity spread across the four winds of the earth. So, once again, Lord's will you're edified. Slakia feels a little all over the place, but Lord's will you still find the lesson edifying. And until next time, next lesson, Shalom, DTA, Wa, Abba, Baba. Soon. Shalom.